Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, your ticket to all things college football. Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? Join us as we talk college football from the national championship to college rivalries to bowl games to the Heisman Trophy to which conference is the best. We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you, as always, by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Danielle. I'm back with another Instant Reactions Week 8 edition. The Big Ten is back. Some exciting games, to say the least. I also want to apologize for being MIA last week. Long story short, I had surgery. I was not feeling that well. My dog was in the ER the whole weekend. That's no excuse, but I just want you guys to know, personal life stuff, I was just not feeling my best, and I, in all honesty, was spending my weekend at the hospital, and I just knew I could not give my full attention to this podcast because I was worried about my dog. My dog is okay. She got a really bad kidney infection after she got spayed, so we were really worried about that, but she's doing okay now. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a great Monday when you're listening to this. I currently have Game 5 of the World Series on. For some context, I'm sitting on the floor of my apartment. I have my microphone and my computer. I'm really liking this floor setup. I've been doing this for podcasts recently with my own personal podcast. It's pretty nice. Feels like I'm just talking. I don't know. I have some water with me. Nothing too crazy. A crazy Sunday night. My crazy Saturday involves sitting on the couch with my boyfriend all day watching football. Crazy. And then I think we watched the World Series because he's a big baseball fan. Obviously, so am I. And the ending. Oh my gosh, that ending was crazy. I was blown away. They're showing Rob Lowe on the TV right now. It's kind of funny. Anyways, the ending to Game 4 was absolutely insane. I used to coach a special needs baseball team that are the Rays. They are the Tampa Bay Rays. That was their team, I guess. And so I'm rooting for the Rays in this. I just don't really like the Dodgers. I'm sorry to say to any Dodger fans out there. I'm just not a huge Dodger gal. But obviously, I still respect the heck out of them. They're the best team in baseball this year. And there's no doubt about that. But currently it's 4-2, in case anyone's wondering. If anything crazy happens in this game, I will not lie. I am looking up at it from time to time just because it is the World Series. But without further ado, let's get into our instant reactions for Week 8 of college football. The Big Ten is back, people. Oh my gosh, I'm so flipping excited. I don't know. We added more games to the schedule, college football just felt real. We have the Pac-12 coming back in 2 weeks. I'm so excited for that as well. But it's been a crazy, I can't even describe it. I can't believe we're here to the point, we're having college football. News did come out today that one quarterback from the Big Ten did test positive for coronavirus, or he's awaiting a second positive test to confirm it. But it's just crazy. But having Big Ten football back felt so nice, waking up, having that 9 a.m. game. Anyways, I'm just being annoying at this point. We had Big Ten football back, so let's get into it. We're going to go run down some of the big games of the weekend. I was wondering, you can let me know on iTunes, if you want me to cover more of the big teams, per se, like Oklahoma, Texas, because I will not be covering them today. I'm really focusing on the top 25, but let me know. Anyways, we have the Big Ten is back. Let's get into it. We have number 14, Wisconsin. They took on the unranked University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini, I believe it's called, and it was a blowout. 45-7, Wisconsin. Wisconsin was my dream school. I always will root for them. But for Wisconsin, Graham Metz went 2021, 248 yards and 5 touchdowns. Absolutely crazy. I believe he set a record Gershuk added 70 yards on the ground, as well as Ferguson added 3 touchdowns in the air. So Wisconsin lost to the Fighting Illini last year, and they blew a 13-point second-half lead, and it was a stunning loss to say the least. However, they did secure revenge in convincing fashion with a 45-7 win over the Fighting Illini. This was a Friday night game. It was the first Big Ten football game of the season. It was very nice. I went to a drive-in movie theater on Friday, but we went to a sports bar beforehand and watched this game and the World Series, and it was pretty nice having lots of sports on. But this was a near-perfect game for redshirt freshman quarterback Graham Metz. The Badgers dominated the game in all facets. He tied a school record by completing 17 straight passes as he became the first Wisconsin freshman to start at quarterback in a season opener since 1978. This is according to 538 Stats. In the end, he finished 20-21, like I said, and 5 touchdowns while filling in for an injured incumbent starter, Jack Cohen. Tossed 4 of those touchdowns during a 14-for-14 first half, as he offered a clear illustration of why he was considered the number 3 pro-style quarterback in the 2019 recruiting class. Again, this is from 538 Sports. The defense also looked like one of the best in the country. Again, they held the Fighting Illini to just 218 yards total. They only scored the game came on defense when Tarkeets Barnes ran a Wisconsin fumble back 39 yards for a touchdown with 3:22 left in the first half. It was a fitting score for Illinois, who tied for first in the nation last season in defensive touchdowns. And it did cut their score to 14-7 at the half. That was really only one of the few bright points, though. The Badgers completely took advantage of running back Mike Epstein when he fumbled on Illinois' second offensive play of the game. That set Wisconsin up at the short field. Overall, Wisconsin did look better. There's no wonder why they're considered one of the best teams in the Big Ten and a top 15 in the country. But yes, Wisconsin will travel to play the Nebraska Cornhuskers next week, and Illinois will play Purdue. Next up, we have number 25, Coastal Carolina versus Georgia Southern. This was a 28-14 win by Coastal Carolina, who I believe this is their first time being ranked since they joined the FBS in 2017. After losing to the Georgia Southern Eagles, the first time they met, the Coastal Carolina team decided to dominate their turnabout. They netted a 28-14 win on Saturday. This is the fewest points they have scored all year. Quarterback Fred Payton went 15 of 28 for 252 yards and 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Jones added 44 yards on the ground. And yeah, there's not much to say about that. FBS is the first time they've been ranked since they joined, Coastal Carolina. This is the first time they've been ranked since joining the FBS in 2017. This is very exciting for them, an up-and-coming team. I don't know if anyone here's on TikTok, but for some reason I've gotten on, girlfriend of football player TikToks. There's this one girl on the screen it looks like there was running 3 balls. I apologize. But there's this one girl who, I think her boyfriend is a tight end for Coastal Carolina. It's really cute. So I see those. I'm like, oh, Coastal Carolina. But they are 5-0, a perfect 5-0, and this loss pushed the Georgia Southern Eagles to 3-2. Georgia Southern's only offensive touchdown came from running back J.D. King. Like I said, Coastal Carolina's defense was present as well as it got past Georgia Southern's offensive line to sack the quarterback 4 times. Next up, everybody, we have number 1 Clemson versus Syracuse, who last week lost to Liberty. I believe they were a 35-point favorite in that game, and they lost pretty convincingly. But Clemson ran this one away, 47-21. The Clemson Tigers entered the game Saturday as a massive 48-point favorite. It was expected that the Tigers' backups might see Esmond Jackson as stars Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. Clemson fans, however, should not have known it was not going to be that easy against Syracuse. Syracuse had the ball trailing by 6 late in the third quarter in front of a stunned crowd at Memorial Stadium before the Tigers grabbed control of the game on a scooping score by Andrew Booth. Shotford Tigers won 47-21, and they remain unbeaten ahead of next week's home game against Boston College. Coach Chabot-Sweeney said, "It was a sloppy win, but I'd rather have a sloppy win than an ugly loss any day of the week. It's not easy to win." The score was not indicative of the stressful afternoon for the Tigers, however, as Clemson's offense struggled with consistency. Syracuse averaged more yards than Clemson, which is 5.6 to 5.4, and more yards per carry than the Tigers, 4.7 to 4.0. Obviously, the Tigers do have Heisman favorite and star running back Travis Etienne, who is one of the best running backs in the country. He returned for his senior season, and it's looking like a good decision. Clemson defense did allow the Tigers to overcome. It was an uninspiring half by the offense. The Tigers forced 4 turnovers, including a scoop and score by Booth to go along with 3 interceptions. Mike Jones nearly made a defensive touchdown on his own, but was tackled inside the 5 to set up a Travis Etienne 1-yard touchdown run. Nolan Turner and Jalen Phillips also held interceptions for the Tigers. Etienne did finish with 3 rushing touchdowns. The box score I forgot to mention, but Lawrence went 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Culpepper for Syracuse Orange had 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Etienne had 86 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Rodgers added 8 receptions for 91 yards. Like I said, Etienne did leave early in the third quarter with what Sweeney said was cramps. He did throw an interception, which was Lawrence threw his first pick 6 of his entire career. But like I said, Clemson will face Boston College at home next week. Number 23, NC State, faced their in-state rival, UNC, who lost shockingly to Florida State last week. And it was not a last-minute loss by any means. UNC was ranked number 5, and they are 14 this week, but they took on the 23 and ranked NC State. And they won 48-21 pretty convincingly. That is UNC. Sam Howell went 252 yards, 1 touchdown. Jalen Williams added... Javonte Williams, added 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brockham for the NC State Wolfpack added 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 215 yards. Overall, a productive day for Sam Howell, and a well-balanced attack led the UNC Tar Heels to a win over the NC State Wolfpack. The Tar Heels took their game against NC State by a conclusive 48-21 score, and this 27-point sets the new best for the UNC Tar Heels on the season. UNC's defense was a presence at point as it collected 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. These interceptions were spread across the defensive unit. No one had a stand-up game offensively for UNC, but they got scores from QB Bailey Hockman, wide receiver Ekme Esme, and wide receiver Anthony Smith. The Tar Heels are now 4-1 on the season after losing to Florida State, and the Wolfpack fell to 4-2. So, pretty convincing game, obviously, for the Tar Heels. This will probably move up a bit in the rankings. I have not seen the AP poll yet. I will cover that on Thursday. But this is presumably going to move NC State out of the rankings, especially with some other big losses this weekend and those teams. And as well as the Pac-12 coming back, we are seeing Pac-12 teams being moved up into the polls. Obviously, some lower-ranked teams did lose as well, so we will get into that. But that's what you can expect. Sam Howell is definitely a winner. Max Brown team was facing a lot of skepticism throughout the season because many saw them as the least qualified ranked team. There just wasn't a lot of consistency there. They had a lot of penalties, a lot of things to work through, and so this win set them on the right path. It was more just they had a good defensive performance overall, and the offense really clicked. So a good day overall for the UNC Tar Heels, and a good day for Mac Brown's team. UNC will take on the Virginia Cavaliers next Saturday, and NC State will take the next weeks off, as their next matchup is in 2 weeks against the Miami Hurricanes. Next up, people, we have Kansas versus another in-state rival, Kansas State. Not much to say here. Kansas State won 55-14. Kansas is now 0-5, I believe. Momentary pause. Excuse me, people. I'm so sorry. They are 0-4. No, they are 0-5. Excuse me, I had that correct. Will Howard for Kansas State had 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. Vaughn added 71 yards and 1 touchdown in the game. Not much to say here. Les Miles has recovered from coronavirus, so that's exciting to see. Hope he is feeling okay. A lot of coronavirus-related news lately, which we're going to get into. Also, I do want to say, guys, I'll talk about that at the end. Never mind. But, next up, we have the game that I probably spent the most time watching this weekend. I won't lie. I mentioned this. My boyfriend is a giant Nebraska Cornhuskers fan. Like, he grew up going to every single game. I mean, like, when we first met, his main talking point was like, I'm a Cornhuskers fan. You know how many consecutive whole games we have? So excited. So, needless to say, we had an alarm clock set on Saturday morning. Thankfully, we're more morning people. But I bring all this up because he was so excited. He had, like, read out, decked everything. And I was just like, hate to break it to you, but Ohio State's going to win. And that's exactly what they did. They won 52-17, the Ohio State Buckeyes, in their season opener. It started out pretty good. I can't lie. It really looked like, okay, Nebraska's going to make this competitive. And that was kind of the theme of the day for a lot of these Big Ten teams. Mostly Nebraska. But it started out where you were like, okay, they can make this interesting. Same with the Clemson Syracuse game. Syracuse cut the deficit. And you're like, okay, this could be interesting. No. Game started out. Nebraska got a quick score. Ohio State rallied back. Ohio State got another score. Nebraska got another score. Nebraska scored once from there, and it was a field goal. They're number 5, Ohio State, is off and running in its pursuits of another Big Ten championship with a second straight college football playoff appearance. They pulled away late in a 52-17 win against Nebraska. Though Ohio State led after every quarter, like I said, they only led 24-14 at halftime. They did outscore the Cornhuskers 28-3 in the second half of their victory. The Cornhuskers showed up confident in their ability to run the ball with dual-threat quarterbacks Adrian Martinez and Luke McCaffrey leading the way in Scott Frost's machine in a scheme. Nebraska marched 75 yards in 4 plays for a game-winning touchdown drive. The state committed to the ground game. Ohio State tightened up over the course of 4 quarters, allowing just 1 touchdown the rest of the way and securing the win with a couple of second-half fumbles. Luke McCaffrey, who is a redshirt freshman, absolutely amazing. Dual-threat quarterback. I mean, I think that people are going to have trouble with this backfield combo. McCaffrey did lead the way for rushing. It was him and Adrian Martinez were the leaders in rushing. However, the main storyline comes from the fantastic 2020 debut of Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. He is a Heisman favorite. He was practically flawless. 20 of 21 passes, 276 yards, and 2 touchdowns, with his 1 incompletion being a would-be touchdown that was dropped in the end zone. He connected with Garrett Wilson for 7 catches, 129 yards, and 1 touchdown, and Chris Olave for 6 catches and 104 yards. You guys probably all saw the big toe-tapping touchdown from freshman Jackson Smith-Njigba. I apologize if I said that wrong, but that was the big play of the game. Fields was 2 yards shy of being the team's rushing leader with 54 yards on the ground. That was their biggest struggle, is that they could not get their running game going. Fields had to be their leading rusher. The effort to replace J.K. Dobbins' contributions, at running back have been by committee, with Master Teague, Ohio transfer Trey Sermon, and redshirt freshman Steele Chambers. Again, this is a load of criticism. That was really their only thing. Next week, Ohio State will be taking on Penn State, which, I mean, we'll get into that in a sec. And Nebraska will start their home and opener against the Wisconsin Badgers. But overall, a very exciting game. A fun way to start college football on a Saturday, you know? Next up for Big Ten action, we have number 18 Michigan and number 21 versus number 21 Minnesota. This was Minnesota's home opener. Rashad Bateman for the Minnesota Gophers did opting out of the season, obviously, and Tanner Morgan was seen as a dark horse favorite for some awards this season, but nonetheless, Michigan Wolverines dominated Minnesota 49-24. The score, even if this is not close, did not replicate how the game was. Number 18 Michigan took it to Minnesota in all 4 quarters on Saturday. They captured the Little Brown Jug. The Gophers announced just before kickoff they would be playing without starters in all 3 phases of the game, including at right guard, offensive tackle, linebacker, both kicker positions, and punter. Every absence made itself evident over the course of the game. The Wolverines improved to 42-4 over the rivals. This is their 3rd straight win in the series. Minnesota did strike first, 7-0 after blocking a Michigan punt, but they did strike back right away with a 70-yard touchdown run by Zach Chamberlain, added by miscommunication on the second level of Minnesota's defense. They put Tanner Morgan under pressure a lot and blitzed from the right side of their line where their starters were missing. That resulted in Morgan being sacked and fumbling the ball in the arms of John Jeter, who took it to the house. After Michigan took a 28-17 lead in the first half, Minnesota had a chance to close the gap. However, they could not. Overall, score did not indicate how not close it was. Let's put it that way. Minnesota is expected to fall out of the rankings this week, and especially with Penn State losing this week, Michigan is expected to rise. Whew. Excuse me. Next up, everybody, we got a few more games to go through. We have number 2 Alabama taking on the now unranked Tennessee Volunteers. They dominated this game 48-17. Again, I think this is a trend. There weren't that many close games this week besides the Penn State game. All the rest of the games were blowouts, to say the least, besides the Iowa State and Oklahoma State game as well. But number 2 Alabama topped Tennessee 48-17 on Saturday afternoon at Neyland Stadium in the rivalry known as the Third Saturday in October. This game was played on the Saturday's 4th October as the SEC conference-only schedule underwent a shakeup. Quarterback Mac Jones finished 25 of 31 for 387 yards, and he left the game in the fourth quarter once the Crimson side were well ahead of the Volunteers. Running back Najee Harris rushed for 96 yards and 3 touchdowns. Their offense racked up 587 yards. That is 7.7 yards per play on the day. However, this was not completely smooth sailing for Alabama as they lost star receiver Jalen Waddle on injury on the opening kickoff. Coach Saban later revealed that Waddle suffered a broken ankle, and this would sideline him for the rest of the season. Tennessee quarterback Jarek Guanataro wasn't able to keep up with the high-octane Tide offense, but he did go 13 for 24 for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns in this losing effort. He hit Josh Palmer on a beautiful touchdown pass in the back corner of the end zone to keep it at least respectable, as Alabama's quarterbacks were beaten a couple times on deep passes over the game. We also saw this in the Ole Miss game with Alabama. They were beaten quite a bit, and early in the Georgia game, so this is something they do need to work on. Mac Jones is probably this year's Joe Burrow. I guess you could say he's checking all the boxes. He's coming off a pretty solid year. However, he was old school signal caller. He did not have the, He didn't have the pizzazz that Tua did, that Lawrence has. He's probably not going to be the number 1 pick of the 2021 NFL draft, but he's definitely a comparison to Burrow. Excuse me, I lost my train of thought. But next up on the list, we have number 17 Iowa State took on number 6 Oklahoma State. This game was very close towards the end, with Oklahoma State winning 24-21. Let's look at some numbers. Spencer Sanders went 20 of 29 for 235 yards and 1 touchdown with 2 interceptions. Purdy for Iowa State went 19 of 34 for 162 yards and 1 interception. Chuba Howard, who is probably seen as the best running back in the nation behind Travis Etienne or in front of Travis Etienne, went 100, and Najee Harris went 25 carries for 139 yards and 1 touchdown. This was a great game towards the end. Iowa State came back. It made it close, but they could not connect on their final drive. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the big game of the day. This was not the most exciting. This was not the game people were expecting the most exciting. I was expecting Ohio State, because I know I was going to watch that game, but probably Oklahoma State, Iowa State, maybe Michigan, Minnesota, but no, it was number 8 Penn State, lost in a shocking upset to the Indiana Hoosiers in Indiana. This was a wild game in overtime. The game-ending sequence was one of the wildest college football has ever seen. The game went to overtime, and Penn State snuck out first to take a 35-28 lead. When Indiana scored, head coach Tom Allen opted to keep his offense on the field to go for 2 points and win. It came down to the split margins, literally a picture-perfect finish. There's no other way around it. IU quarterback Michael Penix Jr. was flushed out of the pocket and forced to dive for the pylon. Penix had to stretch the ball as far as he could, and the play was ruled successful. There's still some controversy around it, but there was not enough to turn over the play. This is Indiana's first win over a top 10 opponent since 1987. Penn State dug a hole early and took a late lead. They dug themselves a 17-7 hole with 3 turnovers and a missed chip shot field goal on the first half. The score was not indicative of the play on the field. Indiana failed to gain even 100 yards offensively, but still were up by 10 at halftime. If you guys have seen the meme of the Penn State kicker already, you know what I'm talking about. But they did rally from a 17-7 down to take a 21-20 lead. Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford, who threw 2 ugly first-half interceptions, escaped pressure and rallied off an impressive 35-yard touchdown run. Penn State needed 3 tries, but took the lead. After a punt and a turnover on downs deep in IU territory, Clifford collected with Jalen Dotson on a 60-yard touchdown deep. However, here's the big point. If you guys watched the Falcons game today, you probably know what I'm talking about. But after Penn State went ahead, their defense forced the Hoosiers to turn it over on downs, and the offense was back on the field at the IU 14-yard line with 1:42 to go. Indiana had 1 timeout relating. Clifford handed it off to Devin Ford. He waltzed into the end zone untouched, but he did not mean to score this touchdown. He started slowing down as he approached the goal line, but his momentum already stopped him, and he was already in the end zone by the time the momentum stopped. On second look, Indiana may have actually let him score, something Allen confirmed after the game. Tom Allen said, we have a signal to our defense to let the opposing team score, so we made that call. I was surprised. I was hoping he wouldn't go down at the 1-yard line. Penn State coach James Franklin said Ford was told to get as many yards as he could and then go down. After Ford's touchdowns, Franklin took the extra point, and the team went up 28-20 with 1:42 to play. This did open the door for Indiana, who went on a 75-yard touchdown drive, and they got a 2-point conversion, and Penn kept on a QB draw to do so. Very exciting game, a picture-perfect finish. What are some big things we can take away from this week, guys? We can take away the fact that the Big Ten is back. That's incredibly exciting. We can take away the fact that we have so much to learn, so much to see. I didn't even cover the Oklahoma game, the Texas game. Very exciting stuff here, people. We got the Pac-12 back in 2 weeks. And with all that being said, stay tuned for a very fun Thursday episode. We will be going over the AP poll. Looking forward to week 9. We got some instant reactions. We got to look at the playoff picture. We got some injuries around the league. We got all that fun stuff. We're also going to look back at the first half of the season and say, what were our favorite moments? What weren't? Stick around for that, people. With all that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Danielle. Please make sure to leave us a review, subscribe to us, leave us all the nice stuff. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to my instant reactions again, and I will see you all on Thursday. Have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From football to basketball, baseball to MMA, and even soccer. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast.